So good morning, everybody. Good morning. This month we're exploring the consciousness that we need to live in the land of milk and honey. And this is the land that God promised to Moses and the Israelites who had been enslaved in Egypt. God said to Moses from the burning bush, "I have come to bring them up out of the land," meaning Egypt, "to a land flowing with milk and honey." And each week this month, we are revealing and exploring the metaphysical code contained in the Exodus experience of Moses and the Israelites. And we're using Catherine Ponder's classic book, The Millionaire Moses, as our reference. Today's talk title is entitled, Your Secret Weapons for Prosperity. And you may find that the word weapons is an interesting choice for a sermon topic, but I wanted to use it because it so aptly describes the metaphor Moses' experience is for us. And there are three of them, three weapons, and they are symbolized in two incidents in Moses' life during the 40 years in the wilderness, which was his third and final period of transformation. So is everybody ready to jump in on this topic this morning? Mm-hmm. All right, let's go. So first, let me set up the circumstances for our first two secret weapons for prosperity that Moses can teach us. Soon after getting out of Egypt and after facing their fear of crossing the Red Sea, remember they had to go into it before it would actually part. After entering the wilderness, after being supplied with food and water, all of the topics of our last two Sundays, the Hebrews faced another problem, and it was a pretty big problem. Anyone ever think that they just got through one thing and then another one hits? Right? You just get through and then it's like, oh man. What was that phrase that was made popular in the 70s when the movie Jaws came out? Just when you think it's safe to get back in the water. Right? Remember what the music do, right? Metaphysically, we know that this it just simply means that there's something else that we need to get. There's just something more that we need to pay attention to understand, to release, to deepen into. Some more internal spiritual work has to be done. And that's what happened to Moses and company. They'd just gotten through some major stuff and wham, they were attacked by a desert tribe known as the Amaleks. The word Amalek means warlike or dwellers in the valley. The Amaleks were plunderers. For us, they symbolize our problems, our challenges, the experiences in our lives that don't go the way that we want them to go. They are those experiences that plunder our emotions, so to speak, bringing about frustration, disappointment, discouragement, and even depression. Moses' experience with Amalek gives us our first two secret weapons for prosperity. Your first secret weapon is to know the meaning of your Amaleks. This first secret weapon is a deep metaphysical teaching and one that I really hope that we all get this morning. It's really, really important. Everybody ready to hear it? Mm-hmm. Well, this is it. The first step toward overcoming them, winning the war against the Amaleks, is to realize that there is nothing negative about or wrong with having to overcome problems or to meet challenges in life. I'm going to say that again because I think it's really huge for all of us. I think sometimes we think that we're the only ones that are having an issue or having a problem. There is nothing negative about or wrong with having to overcome problems or to meet challenges in life. We can begin to overcome our Amaleks when we realize that there are two kinds. First, there are challenges that frankly are brought on by our own negative thoughts, words, and actions. And we've spent a good deal of time in the last 2 weeks exploring the importance of our words, because our words are so very powerful. Remember the I am rod of power. I am. I am words pointing upward bring about blessings. I am words pointing toward the ground bring about plagues. If you're facing your Amaleks because of what you are thinking and saying, and how you are behaving, it's time to stand a little stronger at the portal of your mind and do as Ernest Holmes said in This Thing Called You, which is Suzanne's favorite book. He says, let nothing come forth from your mouth that you would not like to have returned to you in your experience. How many of us do that all the time? It's a practice. We are practicing this continually. So if you're experiencing Amaleks because of the way you are thinking, speaking, acting, and it's misaligned with your good, well, it's pretty simple. We know what we have to do, don't we? And I offer you the words of and counsel of that great guru, Nike. Just do it. Just do it. Second, there are also the Amaleks that result not from negative thinking, words, or actions, but from the mere necessity of growth. As you take up prosperous attitudes, you may encounter growth problems, but they are not problems at all, though their guise is impressive. There are times of soul expansion, or they are times of soul expansion into the light of increased understanding and use of one's own God-given power. In the evolutionary process, turbulence is a natural progression. Ways of being must be dismantled before they can be fitted back together in a greater pattern. As we spiral up into a higher order, we have periods of peace, followed by the mixer whizzing. There will always be periods of chaos in life because we're here in the material world. The rickety walls of old structures are being torn down, and lots of dust flies up into the air. You're expanding out of your comfort zone. One of the founders of New Thought, Emma Curtis Hopkins, called it chemicalization. Chemicalization. A chemical reaction takes place in your life, such as when you pour a baking soda solution on a corroded car battery terminal. The baking soda reacts with the corrosion, and it foams, and it neutralizes and eliminates that unwanted compound. Some of your beliefs or the ways you've been approaching life may have outlived their usefulness, just as the corrosion on the battery has outlived its usefulness. The old ideas are being wrested away from us as we are forced to transcend them. Chemicalization is a natural part of the process of expansion and growth in consciousness. It is the change that literally takes place in our thoughts and our feelings, which is then reflected in our bodies and affairs. So as within, so without. When we get that aha, that moment of clarity within, we then begin to see it in our outer world. So knowing this, you can embrace the obstacle as something that is clearing the part for what you really, truly want. This knowledge is your first secret weapon, because we have to know it before we can actually practice it, right? And that brings us to your second secret weapon, Aaron and Hur. When Moses learned that the Amaleks were planning to attack, he sent Joshua and his men out to meet them. Moses stood on a hill and held out his arms. As long as Moses' arms were out, the Hebrews were winning. But when Moses' hands were down, the Hebrews began to lose. And I just love it when Holmes wrote the first words in The Science of Mind. They're my favorite. And it's so cool when they're played out in the world, because he wrote, "We all look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible. Science must justify faith in the invisible." I'm going to say that again. We all look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible. Science must justify faith in the invisible. Social psychologist Amy Cuddy, in her TED Talk, speaks of the power of body language. We've all learned, how you're supposed to stand before you go in for an interview, your power stances, all right? And the power stance here is arms up and out. This is a power stance. Moses took Aaron and Hur to the hilltop with him. And when he got tired of holding his arms up, Aaron and Hur held them up for him.
Oh, great.
There we go.
Oh, awesome.
Have a little visual there. It's a great painting by John Everett Milius called Victory, O Lord. They helped him keep his arms raised, and Joshua and his men defeated the Amaleks. Aaron symbolizes strength, as I said last week, and Hur symbolizes affirmation. Strength and affirmation. You may tire of your challenges, your Amaleks, but remember, just like Moses, you have Hur, or the power of positive words, to help you. And you have Aaron, the power of strength, to uplift you. You can call upon your Aaron and Hur at any time to help you hold up your arms, overcoming whatever is coming into your experience. Like Moses, you never have to hold up your thinking alone. We don't have to do that alone. For goodness sakes, that's why we're here. This is why we are here. To be your Hur, to be your Aaron. This is what we do. This is what we teach. This is what we do every Sunday morning, and this is what we teach in our classes. And this is what we can do for each other. We can know the truth about each other. We can greet that higher self each Sunday that we see in each other. So your second secret weapon to defeat your Amaleks is, first, to use your internal strength and power through affirmative words and thoughts. And second, to remember that you do not have to go it alone. Your spiritual community is here to help you hold up your arms when you get tired. Your third secret weapon is to listen to your inner guidance. This came from another period later in the time of Moses in the wilderness, but before we talk about it, we must backtrack just a little bit. Early in their wilderness wanderings, the Hebrews were without water, and Moses did what he did every time there was a need. He went to source. He went to spirit. He turned to God. He always asked for specific guidance, and Jehovah always gave it, and Moses always followed it. Two important questions here for you. First, who remembers what Jehovah specifically symbolizes? Do you remember what the word Jehovah is? It means the God within. Jehovah means the God within. So it's that inner voice, that inner guidance, that intuition, that knowing. Second, what did God instruct Moses to do? He told Moses to strike the rock with his rod. Strike the rock. This is really important to remember. Moses was instructed to take an outer action. This is what served him and the Israelites at that time. So now here we are years later in their wanderings, and they're in need of water again, and there isn't any around. Moses again asked for specific guidance, and this time Jehovah said, and this is in Numbers, he said, "Take the rod, gather the assembly together, you and Aaron and your brother, and speak over the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth water." So Moses' inner voice, the God of his being, tells him to speak to the rock. But did he? I'm going to read a little bit more. "And Moses took the rod from before the Lord, and as he commanded him, and lifted his hand up and struck the rock with his rod twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the people drank, and also their cattle." Problem solved. The people have water, and their cattle have water. But wait, what do you see that's wrong with this picture? This time Jehovah gave him different instructions from before. He specifically said to speak to the rock. But Moses did not listen. So often we're creatures of habit. Well, it worked the way I did it before, so I'm always going to keep doing what I did before. And what happens when we do what we did before? It doesn't always fit the new circumstances, right? He used the old way, the way that he knew to do. He didn't trust the way that had worked before. And yes, the immediate need was met, but for Moses there was a long-term ramification for this. Here's what the scripture said: "Because you did not believe me, you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them." And I know that it seems harsh, even punitive, but it really wasn't. It is, however, a terrific example of the law of cause and effect. And of how, when we do not follow our guidance, our intuition, our inner knowings, when we do it the way we've always done it, we may temporarily get what we want, but in the long term, we won't. If we ask for guidance and then don't follow it, our land of milk and honey will evade us as well. So, if you are facing in your life any Amaleks right now, take a good look at them. Take a good look at them. See if they are coming from your own thinking and speaking that is misaligned with your good. If so, just stop it. Stop it. Stop aligning with what you don't want. But if they may simply be the process of chemicalization, the old breaking away so that the new can be birthed forth, call it good. Call it very good. That is your first secret weapon. Your second, remember your metaphysical Aaron, your strength and her affirmations, and your physical Aaron and hers, us, all of us. And your third, follow your divine guidance. Listen to that inner voice. It will take you to your personal land of milk and honey. And so it is.
So this-